Hey everyone, it's Gage here with Pickleball Effect. I'm super excited about the paddle that we're going to be showing you in this video today. I've got the Supernova Pro from PROLITE. This is part of their new LX series that they recently dropped. For those of you who don't know, PROLITE is literally one of the OG pickleball brands. Like if you were playing 10 plus years ago, chances are you were probably playing with a PROLITE. I played for my first time 10 or so years ago, and my first paddle was a PROLITE. It was very common, very popular back in the day. Some of you newer players maybe aren't quite as familiar with PROLITE, haven't seen it around quite as much as some of these other big name brands. However, with this new line that they just recently launched with their LX series, they're really hoping to make a big splash in the competitive pickleball scene today. So there's gonna be two things about this new PROLITE LX series that's really gonna make the paddles unique and kind of stand out. First of all, it's the surface. So these paddles actually have 3 layers of carbon fiber on both sides of the core, which is definitely unique. One cool thing about the surface is that it's actually interwoven with gold fibers or silver, depending on the version of the paddle you choose. And it's tightly woven, so it gives it kind of a cool, shiny look. And then another thing that's really unique, and I'm excited to test this out, is that apparently the longer you play with this paddle, because of the surface material and the way it's built, it's actually supposed to gain more spin and traction over time. As you wear out the fibers, it's supposed to make it a little bit rougher, which should give you a little bit more spin and a little bit more shape. That's super unique. It's not something I've heard about from any other paddle brand, so I'm really excited to see if that's a real thing and how that really works. So yeah, let's go put it on the court and see what we're able to do with it. After drilling and playing with this paddle for over 2 weeks, here's my review of its performance. I'm gonna categorize this paddle as a control paddle. It didn't take long for me to feel confident in my third shot drops and dinks whenever I made it up to the kitchen. I was able to keep my dinks low and much less attackable. Usually with a 14mm paddle, you're gonna get a solid amount of pop while having to sacrifice a little bit of touch, but that wasn't necessarily the case with this paddle. It played like a control paddle and didn't have much pop, which ended up giving the paddle a combination of high maneuverability and control that's not super common. Although I could control the ball well with it, I wasn't a fan of how it felt off the face. It had kind of a flimsy, hard feel to it that wasn't super satisfying to me, honestly. Though I was hitting good drops and dinks, I had a harder time relying on my resets. It wasn't that I couldn't slow the ball down with it, it just wasn't very forgiving. As long as I hit the center of the paddle, I could reset all day with it. But if I hit anywhere near the edge of the paddle, the ball sort of died and dumped into the net pretty often, which I wasn't crazy about. As I mentioned above, the Supernova Pro does not have the most power, which is always a negative when it comes to attacking, especially from the mid-quarter baseline. I ended up adding 3 pieces of lead tape to the head to generate the power I needed. However, it does have a few features that can help make up for that power and strengthen your attacks in other ways. Because of the thin and short shape, this paddle is quicker in your hands. I had more confidence in hand battle exchanges than I usually do because of that. Quick paddles are also a huge advantage when it comes to flick and roll volley attacks, which is becoming a super important, crucial shot in today's game as pickleball continually becomes more offensive. Talking about the spin of the paddle, I know it's supposed to get better with spin over time, but out of the box, it was on the lower to medium spin range and I didn't notice any change during the 2 weeks I played with it. Maybe if I consistently played with it for a month or so, I would see the difference there. As for my recommendation, I think this paddle is best suited for someone who wants more control and plays a patient or defensive play style. It has a nice combination of control and maneuverability. However, it has a tighter sweet spot and it doesn't respond well when trying to add power, though it performed well in hands battles. Talking about the feel of the paddle, with it costing as much as it does, I would have liked for it to have a more quality feel. PROLITE does offer the LX series in multiple shapes. The Supernova Pro shape that I just reviewed is one of their control focus shapes, They have a Rebel Pro and Rebel Pro LXT that offer a little bit more power compared to the Supernova. So that's everything I have for you guys today. Thanks for watching, and I really hope it helps.
I got this one. Nice! One more. I got you. In the kitchen. And now you open your legs.